Yankees owner Hal Steinbrenner recently said this, quote, "I'm going to be honest, payrolls at the levels we're at right now are simply not sustainable for us financially, wouldn't be sustainable for the vast majority of ownership groups given the luxury tax we have to pay." Steinbrenner also reportedly said, "I don't believe I should have a $300 million payroll, have to have a $300 million payroll to win a championship." By the way, the Yankees this year opened the season at $296.6 million. So for more on this topic, we lean in on our expert. Dave Stewart has been a player agent, also general manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Stu, the only thing you haven't done professionally is babysit my son. We're working on that. So I just want to start.
Is that a profession?
Well, I'll pay you for it, so it would be a job. I think you understand this entire situation, and I guess the first place I want to begin is if the Yankees are feeling this way, like they're paying too much, and yeah, they're one of the top-tier teams, they're above the luxury tax, but doesn't that mean that other teams also above the luxury tax or paying a lot, are they feeling the same way too without saying it?
And they may be feeling the same, and my guess would be that they are feeling the same. But you know, I'm on the outside looking in, and as you know, at some point I hope to own a franchise. But the real culprit is the owner. I mean, you've got to look at your organization and make good decisions on how you're going to spend money. You know, the smaller market teams, and that could be the middle market or even the lower market teams, I mean, they're being pushed out of this, you know, by the Dodgers, by the Yankees, the teams that have the ability to put money in their teams the way that they do, to layer their talent, which is how teams stay on top. And so I'm sure that there are a lot of owners that are feeling the same way and thinking the same things. And you've got a new CBA that's coming up in 26. I would expect that you're going to see a strong push for a salary cap and even a floor.
Yeah.
And that could be the resolution to the issues that Major League Baseball is having right now with the teams.
But in terms of payrolls versus results, I mean, even last year, it seemed like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Look at the Padres, the Mets, and the Yankees, nowhere close to the Texas Rangers. And yeah, the Texas Rangers did pay a pretty penny at $251 million. So there is a happy medium here, I think. And to your point, you're probably not going to win the World Series if you're one of the lowest spenders. You can have success, but to give yourself a chance, you probably need to be somewhere middle of the pack and up, right? So you don't have to spend at the top. You got to spend somewhere in the middle.
Right. I mean, there's got to be more parity, obviously, in the league. If you're at the bottom of the pack, and you saw Tampa at the bottom of the pack, but Tampa somehow has done a very, very good job with their resources and keeping themselves in contention throughout the years. The A's were one of those teams as well in past. I think if you're going to have an opportunity and a chance, you're right. You got to be someplace in that $170, $180 million range to be able to compete and see yourself as a contender at the end of the year. And just for more explanation, Brody, what I'm talking about is, for example, the A's right now, they've lost 3 or 4 of their starters in the rotation. The Yankees would be able to replace those guys in their rotation with some of their secondary guys, even guys that they're paying at AAA that might be making, you know, $150,000, $200,000 at AAA that they could bring to the big leagues, and their salaries at the big league level would call for $4 or $5 million. And so when you can layer your organization like that, it gives you an opportunity while your players or your frontline guys are on the IL.
Right.
It gives you an opportunity to stay in the mix until those guys become healthy.
It's security, obviously. It's insulation from the things that can happen. But in terms of teams either not having the money to pay the players or not, it's weird because the valuation of teams has never been higher. So I go kind of to that homeowner's quote of being house poor. Like, these teams are valued at such tremendous amounts, but I don't know that the teams can actually cash in on that value and pay their players with that money. So how do we balance this situation where teams are saying, well, we can't afford this, but I mean, look at the Yankees. They're valued at $7.5 billion.
Well, the value of the team doesn't directly correlate to the success of the team or to the payroll. Some owners choose to have value in the team, but balance their payrolls so that, they can operate through the course of the year, not get over the luxury tax, stay within the confinements of the league, and hope that you develop in the minor leagues so that you're capable of bringing good prospects to the big leagues. Draft healthy, be productive in international signings, and still be able to compete in that manner. But then there are some teams where winning is what matters. I think the Houston Astros, I've had conversations with Jim Crane, and Jim believes that, hey, our fans deserve to have a winner every year. We don't want to have a down year. And if we're not going to have a down year, then that means you're going to have to pay for players. And so it doesn't directly correlate because of the value of organizations. It doesn't correlate with your payrolls. They're not hand in hand. That's not how it works.
I'll make 2 points here as I close it out. You mentioned the CBA that's right around the corner. That's going to be a big deal to figuring out the future of salary caps and salary totals for teams, but also what the league may or may not do with its national streaming idea and package. TV money, and I'll tread carefully here, TV money is important to teams and to this league, and if it changes drastically, I think what teams turn around and spend on their players could also change drastically. So we could go much deeper into that maybe some other time.